Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
Howdy, and thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sam, and right across from me, about 5 feet away on his little yellow blanket, is my little co-host, Eisen, and, well, maybe sooner or later he'll have something to say in this episode, because it is so focused on cats. And I kind of figured sometimes Eisen is just kind of hiding out in his little bachelor pad, and he has so much pent-up energy. So I figured, well, I should spend more time in this little pad that he has, and, you know, like he's hosting. And maybe I should also bring in, like, the quote-unquote party games for him. So today we're going to be talking about what kind of games can you play with your cats. And the great thing is that there's so many resources for you to check out online, and there are a lot of animal medical websites and dog food and cat food kind of websites that really post about what you can do with your pets, you know, what kind of games, what kind of treats, all that kind of stuff. So I actually managed to fall onto the Hills Pet website, where, you know, a lot of the prescription diet food for your pets kind of, you know, comes from. So I think that we should definitely get started, and we'll talk about, you know, a few games that you can play with your cats. So the first thing I want to do is talk about Jackson Galaxy and how he really shaped how I interact with cats, pretty much. And, well, it's very informative, and his show, My Cat from Hell, I don't know if it's still airing new episodes, but a lot of the episodes that he does are very informative, and at some point you actually realize, there's a pattern with the pet owners when it comes to their cats misbehaving or acting out. So a huge thing, as I was kind of hinting at first, is, well, playing with your cat. And, well, there are plenty of games that you can play with them. It really depends on, you know, the cat's personality, but there is also that, you know, that killer instinct that they have, which is, you know, based on hunting and just kind of preying on prey, pretty much. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, well, two things that I wanted to talk about in this segment is, well, two types of games that are very related. One's kind of like a more of a very active kind of play than the other one, but they're still pretty active. And if anything else, it helps stimulate your pets, your cat, and helps them kind of expel a lot of hunter instinct and energy while they're playing this, because they don't really have that opportunity unless they're an outside cat. And, well, there are definitely problems with that too. So let's see. We are gonna talk about something called the Magic Wand, and I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with this. And no, it's not the Harry Potter Wingardium Leviosa. No, it's not. It's basically like a stick with a string and a toy at the end of it, right? We see at the pet store all the time. We see it in the grocery store all the time. And basically, this is like the number one game that Jackson Galaxy insists on whenever it comes to playing with your cats. It's kind of like the easiest thing that you can do. Like step one, beginner cat owner, here's the wand. And basically when you're doing this, it's based on cats and how they like to hunt for birds. Like seriously, when Eisen was younger and he would hang out upstairs with us all the time, he would always be at the window chattering at the birds outside, and he would just have a lockdown on where they were at. So this particular game is kind of tapping into that. So basically, when you have your wand and has a string attached, what should be attached on that string should be like something that makes it look like a bird or feathers or anything like that, just to kind of, poke at that instinct. So when you start playing, you're not going to lazily wave it around because, well, that's not very active. And, well, sooner or later your cat's going to get bored and run off. Well, the thing is that you have to really start waving it about and just, have it dangle at times and just kind of, do like a push and pull of a prey versus a predator. And I would say for us, when it comes to Eisen, sure, we do start off a little bit lazy, but honestly, it's him that starts kind of like pulling out of his shell a little bit more. And I imagine that it varies between pets. Cats have very different personalities, same as dogs and other pets too. But for Eisen in particular, he has such a latent predator instinct that when you actually start gradually pulling it out, you'll start to see him like run and jump and, just pounce and stuff. And I mean, that's all because we're just kind of flicking the wand all over the place so that he can start chasing it. Because that's what you want. You want your cat to be chasing. And this can't be like a 5-minute kind of deal. You actually have to invest in the time to get your pet active and get them a little bit tired out. And I think that's something that people take for granted. Like, for instance, Eisen right now is sleeping on his yellow blanket, as I said earlier. He naps, he stretches, he cuddles. Of course he eats and other cat stuff. But most people that I've noticed, at least on, the Jackson Galaxy end, and also some personal friends, they just kind of have this expectation for cats to just be lazy all the time, and they don't need play or anything like that. When in the reality, they actually do need that. And it's something that a lot of people miss out when it comes to their pets. And, well, I mean, just take the freaking wand and like flick it around and you'll see that something inside that cat's brain is going to like flick on. And you want to make sure that you're able to kind of designate when that instinct should flick on. But anyway, if you wanted to graduate your cat and yourself to another level of the magic wand, it's actually very fun. And, well, you could add to the expenses, but that can go into the pet expenses that go into, Chewy.com or something like that. But, what you can do is get like a remote control car that's about mouse sized. And then you get to see the serious zoomies. And when I say this, like this game that, Hill's Pet really includes here is, well, this thing is called Zoom. And if you're a pet owner, you know what the zoomies are when it comes to dogs and cats and, just baby animals that, can run really fast eventually. And basically what you're doing with this remote control car is, putting it down and start kind of poking at your cat a little bit to maybe, kind of engage them a little. And as I'm reading this, I'm also thinking, wouldn't it be better to add like something that looks like feathers just kind of on this particular remote control car? And I would definitely like to see some people doing that, just to see what it's like. But if you don't do that, there is the entertainment level of just having your cat like burst out into a huge leap and just chasing this little remote control car. But the major thing here, it kind of goes back to the lazily flipping your wand about. And you want to make sure that you're not just going around in a circle. You're trying to make your cat work. And, well, when they don't work and they're not, and they're being pushed into like a very slow routine or a very predictable routine, well, they're going to disengage because it's not fun. What you want to do is have your remote control car like zipping all over the place and hiding, just how a mouse would do it. Like, if a mouse was like traveling in circles, well, that's not any fun for your cat. It's something that is just kind of boring, and it'll just make the hunting that much easier. And to be frank, I don't think Eisen really likes the boring. He likes to, kind of evilly play with them as they slowly come to his grips, pretty much. And, well, again, he looks like he has a lot more fun when, his victims are, are struggling. And I'm thinking of my husband was watching Jurassic Park like all weekend. And I'm just kind of thinking about how, in the kitchen scene in that movie, and we all know the kitchen scene, like, the kid, Tim, is like, at some point, like, basically limping to get to the fridge, basically. And you just kind of watch him, and you see that velociraptor, like, really just staring down at him, and you know that it's going to be an easy kill, but he's going to be fighting it. So, the major thing is, when you think about how to really engage your cat, show struggle. Because that instantly makes them think, hunter instinct, I can get this, and it won't be too hard, but it'll also be a bit of a challenge, just to catch it and like keep it, pretty much. Or it can be like, or the cat could be like Eisen and just kind of slowly toy with them until he decides to end it all, pretty much. And, well, I love the boy. I love him so much, but that is one of the things that is honestly, terrifying. I'm going down this rabbit hole, and I'm thinking of a comic that the Oatmeal, an online comics writer and artist, showed in one of his works, and basically having I think he had like a cat cam on one of his pets, and just he wanted to see what his pets did, and there was a lot of graphic ends to different types of small animals at the claws of one of his pets. And he goes on to make jokes that, cats are actually real serial killers. The hunting, the just preparation, I wouldn't say that they were sadistic or anything like that, but they definitely take joy out of hunting. And, humans do that too with other animals. So I guess it makes sense. But, gosh, I can't believe that, just the numbers that the Oatmeal was showing on this is pretty hilarious. And I would say that particular content is, mostly for adults and up. Just because sometimes the Oatmeal can be quite crass about how he describes things. But at its heart, it's very true, and you get to see have a little sneak peek at how your cat is like a really, very strategic when it comes to hunting down their prey and slowly having it pass, pretty much. I'm trying to have different words for this kind of activity, to be honest. But yeah, I really do think that for the Zoom and also for the Magic Wand, those are really good starters for people that are trying to really get their cat a little bit more active and just kind of encourage them to be more active. Because, they say this about dogs, but they say if a dog is tired, a happy dog is a tired dog, if I remember correctly. And I think that definitely applies to cats as well. I mean, sure, right now Eisen is extremely content and adorable in his little blanket. Gosh, I want to scratch his little ears right now. It's so cute. But yeah, there's more to Eisen and there's more to your cat than napping and being lazy. Cats are not all Garfield, for instance. Definitely not. And maybe they kind of like the idea of, eating lasagna all the time and hating Mondays or just hating every single day. But again, your cat has its individual needs and you have to really play into those needs. You need to make sure that all of these needs are met, or else, then you have a cat that will probably take you to one of Jackson Galaxy's episodes. Again, I can't remember if the airing of new episodes has ended and it's just based on reruns, but hey, something I can look into in a bit, and I don't know, maybe there can be an episode about that. Maybe. But anyway, we are going to take a brief commercial break, and we're then going to be talking about another kind of play that, again, two complementary modes of play for your cat. And, basically think of it as kitty fishing. All right, we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back, and we were just talking about having your cat go into this extreme hunter instinct and just kind of having at it when they play with their toys, and how you have to be a bit more active when it comes to playing with your cat and its toys. But now I figured let's delve a little bit deeper into, just mysterious moving objects and, catfishing. And when I say mysterious moving objects, it's basically you are emphasizing that you have nothing to do with with this item moving around. And preferably, this is actually recommended, you use a toy that your cat really likes and tie a string around it and just kind of have it drag along, have it jump about in a little space. Again, think of it I would say, and this is the image that comes to me, pretend that that little toy is like a fish out of water, and just kind of manipulate it with a string to where it kind of emulates that. And there have been so many times when I have looked Eisen dead in the eye, and he just is all for that toy that is just kind of flipping around just vulnerably. And I guess that's, this is definitely a hunter instinct kind of thing. Because, well, predators want to make sure that, they can get their prey. Sure, there is, hunting for fun, but I don't know. I'm thinking of the other, about Jurassic World. I don't know why. Well, as I said, my husband was watching the Jurassic, Park series and over the weekend, and it's just kind of stuck in my brain. And I didn't realize how much I really liked the series. But again, I'm thinking, kitchen scene, and then also the Indominus Rex just kind of, going through the park and killing for fun. Like, actually just hunting for the sake of hunting. And it's just kind of a real disconnect. Because, well, sometimes cats are all about, hunting and being able to, eat their prey, right? But there are also times when your cat just kills for the sake of killing. Like, honestly, I don't know if you guys know what sprickets are, but they're basically like a horrible combination of, crickets and spiders. And they look so frightening. Oh my gosh. Just kind of a side note, one time when Regina was a very small puppy, oh my gosh, it's almost been a year since we got her, but she brought to me, like, as I was sitting down on our pavement and she was like kind of digging around, she just kind of happily like started trotting over to me. She had something in her mouth, and then I looked closer and I just kind of made like this guttural sound and just tried to scooch away from her. But yeah, those sprickets are like frightening for me. But basically, like, when it comes to Eisen, he finds those things and he just slowly kind of like punches at it with his paws, and, basically he's boxing with it, and then occasionally he's, mouthing at it, but he has no intention of actually eating it. So to some degree, he's kind of like the Indominus Rex. But that doesn't change the fact that when it comes to the kitty play, you're not, it's kind of feeding into just, oh, I'm going to keep my hunting skills sharp. And whether or not they realize that, that object that they're playing with is not real, that's taking credit away from the cats and their intelligence. I'm almost positive that, Eisen recognizes that there's play and then there's actually true hunting. And I guess I remember like a while back when, Eisen had escaped from my mom's house, like we found like, the remains of his food that he hunted for, like in our backyard. And it was pretty intense. So I'm pretty sure he knows the difference between like actually playing and hunting. And if not, then that's going to have a lot of, behavior problems when it does come to play. But anyway, for this mysteriously moving object, you need to make sure that they don't realize that you are manipulating it. But then we go into something called catfishing, and well, catfishing has so many terms and definitions about it. And well, you can think of catfishing on the internet, and then, actually going out to catch catfish in, murky lakes and stuff, which is pretty cool. Yes, I went catfishing when I was younger. But yeah, I was from the South, so of course I had to. But anyway, like, it's basically you are having your cat fish for this prize. Like, pretty much you have the magic wand and you're just kind of hanging it over your cat when they're especially already kind of in a heightened mood. And, well, they just kind of try to catch the toy, and it has to be a toy that they really like too. Nothing that's throwaway. But, you know, just allowing your cat to hop around and basically just be a cute little, I don't know what, it's like reverse catfishing, I think. So the cat's not fishing, but you are fishing for the cats. That's what it is. So basically, you are trying your best to get your cat to cling on to this toy so you can like gather him up and then give him all those kisses and pets. Now, that is up to your cat's personality, but Eisen would appreciate that after, you know, we de-escalated him. By the way, I don't know if anyone really, this is just another occurring thought for me. One way that you can really de-escalate things with your cat, especially if they're trying to like bat at you and, you know, bite at you, something I learned from Jackson Galaxy, basically point your finger like at its nose and have it like center into that and just kind of hone into that, and that somehow calms them. If anyone knows like the actual behavioral science behind that, that'd be amazing if you could share it with me, because I mean, it's fascinating. And while I can do the research myself, I would like to see what other people have to say about it. And again, maybe the catfishing thing is a way to get them like really centered on a particular object. And like, you can definitely tell when a cat is really, really invested in something with how they stare and just how their body is so rigid and just, you know, ready for any sudden movement and just kind of racing to catch whatever it is. And again, this catfishing thing is very similar to moving objects, mysterious moving objects, but there's more of a play with, you know, cat and cat owner, if that makes sense. Like, you know, the cat knows that you're behind the rod, pretty much. When it comes to the mysterious moving object, not so much. But anyway, just, any toys that, you know, have strings, you just need to remember, they need to be safely stored and out of the cat's reach when it's not playtime. And that is actually something, that we were kind of bad about, and still kind of bad about with Regina. Like, Regina finds all kinds of stuff that she just likes to take from us. And, you know, she starts chewing at it, and then you have, like, the times when, you guys remember, when she ate an entire sock. But, you know, this also goes the same for Eisen. Like, he's not going to ingest an entire sock, but he is, if his toy is out there so that he can, like, you know, hunt it, he might try to eat pieces of it. And you don't want that because it'll possibly make them sick. And then also, if they, manage to not get sick from it, they might tangle up the line to your rod, pretty much. So you don't want that. And I would say that overall, these two types of games are, you know, I would say a little bit more, I wouldn't say nuanced, but it focuses on, you know, the interaction between you and your cat a little bit more. Whereas with the Zoom and the magic wand, well, it's, you know, the cat is disengaged from you and more focused on the toy at hand. Mysterious moving objects, like, if you show that you're manipulating it, well, they're still going to try to go for it. And I think that's something important to acknowledge there. The only difference between these two games versus the other two is that, well, there's like a different kind of level of interaction with your pets. There still should be like a similar level of activity or a baseline activity that they hit. And, you know, I imagine that catfishing doesn't have as much, activity level than the Zoom, for instance. But hey, I would love to see, like, how other people catfish, pretty much. And again, it's not the online catfish. We don't want to see catfishers here. But yeah, I kind of want to see how active catfishing can be, especially when you think about how people go off and fish and, you know, actually catching fish. And I can definitely agree with this. I've done it before. Like, it's a serious fight. Like, it's exhausting, and I kind of wonder how that level of activity can be put into this catfish game. But I don't know. It makes me wonder a lot, and it makes me, you know, kind of inspired to look at more different toys that could really pique Eisen's interest. And, well, there could also just be, like, he doesn't want to, you know, do too much anymore because, well, he is a really lazy cat, I have to say. Definitely lazy, but as time has gone by, he's somehow become more active, just in the recent months. But anyway, I figured that we could talk more on this in a bit, but I wanted to kind of talk about, in the next segment, some, I wouldn't say active I would say, a different kind of engagement level with your cat, pretty much. And I would have to say that, yes, absolutely, there needs to be, like, different levels of engagement, because your cat is not always going to have that same attention, span for different activities. Like, if you want your cat more engaged, then you probably want to play these 2 additional games that the website is suggesting for you. Now, whether or not you want to go in that direction, it's totally up to you. Like, if you just want to focus on the wand, the zoom, and, like, the moving objects, that's perfectly fine. But there are other, you know, there are other more intensive kind of plays that you can do with your pets. It just kind of goes into, do you want to do it? Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go on a commercial break, and we are going to be talking about these 2 games that you can play. And I'll go ahead and tell you what they are. Hide and seek, which is something that, yes, we do with dogs. And then there is something called the Kitty Parade, and I'm actually really excited to talk about that because it sounds so cute, and I've actually done it with Eisen before. It is tops. It really is. But anyway, I will talk to you after the commercial break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back. Yes, I did say that in a funny way, but that's just who I am. So anyway, we are going to talk about some more active, like one of the more active games that you can play with your cats. And I wanted to start off with hide and seek because, well, hide and seek is like a central part of growing up, right? It's one of the easiest games that you can play with friends, and, well, I mean, honestly, sometimes people can be abandoned because they can't be found, but, they're not kidnapped or anything, but, like, sometimes people are really good at hiding. So, I mean, we have those experiences with hide and seek, and then when it comes to dogs, like, I mean, it's definitely a fun game to play with them. But this game can actually be used to entertain your cat as well. And it won't really be, it's definitely not the same as like human hide and seek or dog hide and seek. Not very much so, the dog hide and go seek. But yeah, there are actually a lot of things that you and your cat can actually benefit from. And basically, you're going to start off pretty easy. You are going to call them, and this is basically a good game to play, to start off playing when it's around mealtime. So maybe their afternoon mealtime, they are, pretty engaged and just they want their food. It's a good thing to just start using that food to entice them. Like, Eisen is so food motivated, so is Regina. Like, the second that you bring food into it and it's close to feeding time, they are going to be more attentive. So, what you need to do, you're going to move to different rooms in your house or apartment, whichever, and you are basically calling your cats as you go into these different rooms, and your cat has to, go and find you. And it's actually a good way to teach your cat how to come on command. So, well, it's one of the ways. I don't really know why. We never played this game with Eisen. And he knows his name. He comes when he's called. More attentive when it comes to his food, of course. But there are some cats that need to have this kind of play because, well, they don't really, well, people say it's because they're jerks, but they don't come when called. That's not a cat thing that people really expect. And it goes back to, well, a lot of the perceptions of cats is can be very flawed at times, especially for people that claim to be not cat people. But anyway, so every single time that you go into these separate rooms and they come running after you when you call them, you are going to reward them. And you're going to increase the difficulty of finding you as you continue the game. And this is something that you should do consistently because, well, I mean, you don't get better riding a bike if you learn how to bike first and you spend, 2 years not riding your bike after it. Sure, you know how to ride your bike, but there's no practice to it, so you're going to suck at riding your bike. You might fall over a few times, or you might freak out because of the balance thing. It's the same thing for cats. Like, you have to be consistent with this, or they're just going to be thinking, oh, yeah, they're calling me. I guess that's nice, but I'm laying down sleeping, so, oh well. So, well, kind of depends on the cat. Eisen is actually quite attentive and very trainable, so these are things that don't really relate to him, but I've seen other cats and, with my friends and all that kind of stuff. But throughout the entire thing, when you are playing hide and seek, you need to make sure you're rewarding your cats so that they have incentives to continue to seek you out when you're hiding. And again, very small rewards. You don't want to spoil their appetites. But, I mean, it's a very cute kind of image for me, just kind of imagining a cat, coming when you're calling them. I have a story of when, I don't know if I've shared this, but after one of the times that Eisen escaped from my mom's house, he was gone for days, and I was just kind of freaking out because I was like, oh my gosh, I lost the cat. And it wasn't my fault, it was someone else's fault, but whatever. back to the story. So I spent many days just kind of like rattling his food bowl full of, dried kibble. And I would call him, and eventually, like one night, like he was nearby somehow, and he was still, pretty much a kitten. And, I kept on rattling his food bowl, and then I heard like a little mew, just kind of off to the side. And I turn around and I see Eisen just kind of hurrying up to me, and he's limping, and it's so, so sad, and he seems so, so desperate. But, that was his, I guess in a way he was playing hide and seek, and we didn't search for him in the way that he wanted us to. So then he decided to be like one of those kids. It's like, what? You didn't come and find me. I was hiding for all these hours. So, I can understand that perspective, and I know that Eisen probably has something ingrained in him now that he really should come when he's called. And it might be kind of directly related to that instance that I was just telling you about. But anyway, there is another thing that is pretty cool that you can do with your cats. And this is actually something that that is so similar to the hide and seek game. And honestly, something that I also do, which is I do a lot of good stuff for my cats. But anyway, there's something called the kitty parade, and it again kind of like disrupts their meal so that you can get them to have more exercise. So make sure that it's mealtime whenever you're going to be starting this training. But when you fill your cat's bowl of food, instead of putting it down right in front of them, take that bowl, and you're going to walk around the house, and you're going to take your cat for a walk. And they're going to be, Eisen, most definitely, would follow his food, right? So, occasionally you will give like a bite or two for rewarding, just for following you. And also just to make sure that they keep the interest going, right? Back to all those other games that I was just saying. Well, if you're not making it interesting, you're not rewarding them, then there's no incentive for them to continue the positive the behavior that you want. So I would say whenever you can, when you are, I wouldn't say when you are impressed with how your cat is doing, I think just kind of keeping it at random so that they can associate like the general behavior as a good thing, rather than, oh, I walked to this place, now I deserve a treat. This is where I get my treats now. No, you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that it's, at any point during this walk. Because, cats and, pets kind of work that way, where they are struggling to find, the association of good stuff happening to them when they do something. Or, bad stuff happens when they don't do something. So it's definitely kind of like balancing out their understanding of what you want from them. So it definitely requires patience. And I think I've really made my case on that. And I imagine a lot of you already know that it takes like a lot of patience and a lot of consistency and honestly a lot of failure at times. And this is just me being a teacher right now, but I'm saying that a failure shouldn't be an issue. Not that you shouldn't be failing, but when you fail, there's always going to be something to learn from it, and then you can adjust what you're doing so that you can hit success. Anyway, for this entire parade that you have with your cat, make sure that you actually keep those treats on you, because hey, you might want to do it randomly, right? It's kind of like, having your dog sit just at random. Like, you start just kind of encouraging that behavior with treats. Gradually you start removing the treats from the training. And then eventually, you get the behavior that you want. And it takes time, but I mean, anything, like I said, the riding your bicycle thing, it takes time. It takes effort. And if you are not invested in the training, then, I mean, you're not going to see what you want. And I really want to emphasize that because, well, it just kind of feeds into like the, oh, my cat is evil kind of thing. Like, no, your cat's not evil. You're just not finding good ways to engage with them, and you're not trying to understand your cat's perspective. This makes me sound like a crazy cat lady. But, I mean, in this case, I'm thinking along the lines of, well, you need to understand what drives your cat, what makes them want to do things. And that's like the core thing when it comes to training any type of animal, and even like raising children. I'm mentioning children in reference to pets, but, you know, at some point there's a lot of parallels to it. And as a parent, you want to encourage things, so you reward the good things. You take away the stuff that causes bad behavior, and hopefully they'll, well, not fix their behavior, but they'll start kind of like figuring out like what was wrong and what is right. But anyway, I'm really not a parent, but it's, again, stuff that I witness with my friends and how they just raise their kids. I mean, honestly, it would be pretty cool to see like a parent to a baby parade. And not like a parade as in like on the road, but more of like the kiddie parade kind of stuff, where your baby's like kind of chasing after you as you're like, you know, oh man, now that I mentioned that sounds so cruel. And I can't see how that'll be successful at all. It's just a weird thing that just came up in my head. But yeah, make sure that one of the major things about this kitty parade, and honestly all training, you want to be careful with how much you feed your cat these treats. You know why? Because they might become a little butterball, right, Eisen? A long time ago, Eisen was like all about food. I think I've mentioned this before. He is so food driven, and when I came down to the university that I went to for undergrad, I saw him for the first time in months, and husband, when he, boyfriend at the time, he had been feeding Eisen a lot of food, and he was just a big boy at that point. He literally looked like a ball. But, yeah, you need to be careful when it comes to weight management, and don't give too much, because, well, I'm sure that you guys are familiar with like feline diabetes and just and other sicknesses like that really cause problems for your pet later on down the road. So you want to make sure that you are aware of how much you're giving them, and having them like do regular exercise, because again, for your cat and for you even to be well, there has to be this holistic approach. Sure, eating healthy is great, but if you're not exercising, then there's one part of your health that is lacking pretty much. But again, I'm not a health coach. I don't know. I just kind of based on experience and from what I've written, what I've written, and then also what I've read. So, I mean, that's totally on you and on your cat, pretty much. But somebody in the relationship has to take responsibility, and since you're the treat giver, well, you're the one with the responsibility. Anyway, we are going to go on another commercial break, our final commercial break, and, well, I just kind of wanted to talk about just kind of behaviors in general when it comes to playing with your cat. So we will be right back after this commercial break, and then, well, you get to hear some really interesting things. Not interesting things, I'm sorry. I guess they are interesting. But, just fair warnings, I guess is what you could say. And just kind of some final advice when it comes to playing with your cat, also with your dog too. But anyway, we will be right back after this commercial break.
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
So after talking all about these games that you can play with your cats, and, you know, maybe you could adjust them so you could also play with your dog too. There's that. But, yeah, there are things that you have to really consider and, create boundaries for you and your cat whenever you play. Now, I imagine that there are a lot of people that have had bad experiences with cats in particular. They maybe got a really bad scratch for them, and they thought that the cat just randomly did it. And again, Jackson Galaxy mostly says that there's a reason why your cat does the things that they do. So, maybe, you know, these bad experiences can be prevented by, I wouldn't say better parenting, but more intentional parenting of your cats. Now, one of the things, and this also applies to dogs, and it's something that a lot of us take for granted, I guess, and that is, well, you make sure your cat doesn't actually use you as, like, a toy. And when I say that, I'm just saying that humans are not prey. Ever. Do not let your cat, at any age, like, use you to hunt your fingers, your toes, ankles, anything that is attached to a human being. You do not want that. One time, Eisen, when he was little, started clawing and, you know, pulling at my hair when I was just lying down on the couch. And that is no behavior. You don't want that. So there are boundaries that you have to create so that your cat can be a functioning cat in the, you know, the world of hosting at home, pretty much. So, yeah, this can be a very painful thing for you as a pet owner if they keep doing this. And then it also starts kind of driving away people. Like, you might have to start locking your cat away somewhere else so they don't harass or, you know, hunt for your guests, right? So you want to make sure that you establish these boundaries as soon as you can, or else, again, habits are hard to break. I mean, you've seen people with smoking habits, and, you know, that is hard to break. Any type of behavior that has been set in stone is hard to break. So, and this is with regards to humans, dogs, cats, birds, anything like that. If they have a behavior, it's going to be set in stone after consistently doing that particular behavior. So, again, don't let your cat use you as prey. It's cute when it's a kitten, but not as cute when they become an adult, and definitely not as cute when they're a curmudgeon. So, yeah, make sure that you do not become prey for your cat. Now, when it comes to, you know, finding other ways, well, I mean, I guess it's easier to, like, make your hands, like, manipulate to seem like a desirable movement for your cat, but this is when you have to, again, take a step back and use other things that is specifically for your cat, and use that to manipulate and have them hunt for that. I mean, again, you need to start directing stuff for your cat or dog, whatever. But again, just kind of keeping real movements, observe like what desired prey behavior is, and then emulate that in the toys that you use to play with your cat. Or else, well, that's going to be kind of a difficult thing, right? So, and in the event that maybe you're tight on cash, I would say that DIY. I mean, I've talked about dog toys and DIY for that, but for cats, it's the same thing. You can basically make toys for your cats that, can definitely stimulate their need to hunt. And I mean, just kind of thinking about like what kind of toys, like you could get like some sort of little stick, tie some rope on it, and tie one of their little toys to the end. And that could be a toy. Maybe you have ribbons or something like that. Make sure your cat doesn't ingest those because, well, that is bad for your cat. It's the same thing with like other types of string too. But you want to make sure that in addition to being fun and creative, you also need to make sure it's safe. So, any small objects that your cat can choke on, don't put it on there. It might look cute and might make cool sounds, but again, it's not about you, right? So, don't be afraid for DIY, but also be very aware of what DIY can be in the negative side. So, I mean, it's supposed to be fun, and I would say that maybe I'm a fun sucker because I am adamant that, hey, is this safe for my dog, my cat to have? Because, like, seriously, this is off topic on cats, but just kind of a example that comes to my mind is, well, we had some bones, well, like some dog treat bones for Reggie to chew on. And, it seems like a really enjoyable thing for her, but when it gets too small, you have to keep an eye out for that. And the other day, I'm glad that I was there for it, but there was a bone that was just big enough to like lodge itself in Regina's like roof of her mouth. So she was trying to get it out, and then, I had the panic. It's like, okay, this is far too small for her, and I was able to take it out. And you have to make those decisions to help your pet so that they can continue to, find fun in other things. I mean, I guess that's not really the clearest example or not so related to cats, but I mean, again, if your cat is eating up all the string, then you can imagine that it would be detrimental to their dietary health, right? And you mostly have to think about, okay, what should I do with these DIY toys? Well, I mean, I can talk about this box that I had for Eisen years ago. I had gone to an Asian grocery store, and I had so much stuff that the owner just graciously gave me like a box that he had used for seafood in it, and then I put all my stuff in there, went home, and Eisen was just crazy about it. He loved it. And one thing I had to do was make sure that all the things that I bought weren't in there, so he couldn't eat any of those stuff. I had to make sure that the box didn't have any anything that could hurt him in general. And then, well, I also needed to make sure that he was able to get out of the box if he got stuck in it. So again, it's keeping an eye out for your pets, finding things that they actually really do enjoy. I mean, people always talk about the cat preferring the box over the other thing that is bought for them, right? Happens with kids too, happens with dogs. Like, boxes are actually quite fun. So honestly, you could probably like make a type of game where you can like play with your cat, like with boxes. Cause I mean, hey, that's something they like. Why not include it in your toolbox of cat toys and cat games? But anyway, it's, again, keep it fun, keep it varied, but also keep it safe. So try to make sure that you don't do anything that is predictable all the time. That's a huge thing. Cats are very similar when it comes to us, when it comes to like predictability and just boredom. If you don't have anything that you've done that is exciting, then, well, you tend to, one thing, you can tend to get depressed, for one thing. But then also you just give up on being active because, well, it seems like everything that's thrown at you is boring, just kind of reflective of repetition that gets so tedious. It really does. But yeah, just making sure that you keep these things varied. Like, you don't always go to the remote control car because, hey, maybe Eisen doesn't want to play with that toy. Maybe he actually wants to have some of his food, and then you can do the little kitty parade. You want to make sure that all of this is really focused on what you can do for your cat. And I want to emphasize that, what you can do for your cat. Because, well, honestly, if Eisen were out in the wilderness, he'd find plenty of things that were stimulating to him, like different side smells, different prey to go after. Like, he's basically put into this house, and sometimes he can get some fresh air, sometimes he can't. And, well, he lives a very inactive life at times. So, again, activity is huge for your cat. And don't just have the assumption that, hey, they're a cat, they like to sleep. Oh, yay, they're having a cat nap. No. Cats are living things, and even sloths, they have to have some activity too. And those are the laziest, quote unquote, animals in our world. Not necessarily, but just to get that point across, like, even they have to have activity, and you're thinking your cat does not have activity, does not need activity because, well, they sleep all the time. Now, last point that I want to make is that, well, if you imagine you sleeping all the time, how would you feel? Yeah, you'd probably start feeling sore, a little bit depressed, and then it goes into, well, have you done anything active? Did you groom yourself? Well, I'm going to say groom. Did you groom yourself? Have you eaten healthy food to get your day started? All this kind of stuff. Life as a cat and life as a human, life as a dog, a lot of those things kind of like combine into, well, this is how we can live a healthy, happy life. And I know. Like, there are other things that cats have to be concerned about. There are other things that, humans have to really consider because, different species and all, right? But anyway, I really think that if you have a cat, today just kind of sit back, relax, take out a wand and see if they're wanting to, play or something, or maybe create a cat house out of the boxes that you have kept from your last move. Sam. Yeah, my office is full of boxes from our last move. But anyway, I really wanted to thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Pets Podcast. And again, we were brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Now, you are more than welcome to subscribe and review our podcast because we love feedback and we love our fans. And, well, also check out our Twitter, our Instagram, and our Facebook accounts because, hey, you never know. You might be able to see some pictures of, my little co-hosts, like, just napping or maybe playing. Oh my gosh. I have a video for you guys that I can post on, maybe Instagram, maybe Twitter. I mostly live on Twitter. But, yeah, I can definitely see what I can post for you guys because I do have a pretty cute video of Eisen and Regina. And yeah, I guess that's it. Now, again, please check out those, our social media, and I want you guys to have a wonderful day, and we'll talk later. Thank you.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.